G'day there guys, it's Connor here and we are back with some more Reddit stories. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty guys, let's get right into it. Okay guys, this one was originally posted on Am I the A-Hole? It's written by user Swan Altruistic and it's titled, Am I the A-Hole for insulting my father's girlfriend and telling her to get out of our lives? My mother was my world. I remember reading books, watching documentaries and going on road trips with her. She baked my sister and I cookies whenever we were sick. Her and Dad would take us hiking every other week. I still miss her, even now. When I was 11 years old, she passed away from a driving accident. It was the hardest year in my life, and it hasn't gotten any easier. 2 years after she passed, my father started dating a woman named Nicole, and 4 years later, they're getting married. Nicole is younger than my father. After dating Nicole, I saw my father come back into his shell, but it turned into something else. Nicole brought adventure back into his life, but they often went on elaborate trips and frequent night outs. During all of this, I felt neglected. My father slowly stopped taking my sister and I on our weekly hikes. He started speaking less and less over calls, and he even once forgot my mother's birthday. After she came into our lives, I started losing my father. He just wasn't there anymore. One time, when my sister and I were home alone, she fell down the stairs and got a huge cut on her forehead. It was clear she needed stitches, so I called my father immediately. Nicole answered the phone, and I told her to give the phone to my father. She refused, saying he was busy, and before I could get another word in, she disconnected the call. I embarrassingly had to ask the neighbour to bring us to urgent care, where my dad later met us. This woman at one point removed my mother's picture from the fire mantle to put up a picture of her and my dad from their trip to Washington. The thing that tipped me over was when she made my father forget about my mother's birthday. Every year, my sister and I go with our father to visit my mother on her birthday. It was an annual tradition, even before Nicole entered our lives. Nicole and my father went on a trip to Florida and was supposed to be back 3 days before my mum's birthday. But because this woman is motion sick, my father decided to break the drive back into small intervals to make it easier on her. Because of this, he ended up missing our annual trip. He didn't even call us. Not even a week later, my father has the nerve to tell us about an exciting surprise. Nicole is pregnant. I get angry and tell my father, "You need to knock her ass up when you can't even be here for us." I then look at Nicole and tell her she's a disgusting piece of trash and to get out of our lives. My father gets angry and yells at me to go up to my room. Later, my grandpa unexpectedly came over to pick me up. My father didn't text me crap. Even as I left, he wouldn't even look at me. It's been 2 days and I'm still at my grandparents' home. I feel ashamed for saying what I said, yet I don't feel overwhelming regret. Am I the a-hole? Edit, when I saw how deep the cut was, I immediately called my dad. He was staying over at Nicole's place at the time. When I called, Nicole picked up. She said, "Hello?" I said, "My sister is bleeding. Can you pass the phone to Dad?" She said, "Oh, Dad's busy. I can't." And immediately afterwards, she disconnected the phone. I then left to go get my neighbour. Yeah, to me it sounds like Nicole's the classic selfish stepmom type. Honestly, the dad here needs to step in and set things right. Let's see what the comments say. Not the a-hole. Nicole showed her colours when your sister was injured and she wouldn't let you talk to your dad. And he showed his colours too, in many ways. I hope your grandparents can continue to be there for you. You didn't say your age, but I hope you can be free of all this soon, i.e. be 18. You were harsh and rude, but I can't fault you given what you've shared. Opie replies, I appreciate it. I'm 17 and I've spoken to school counsellors too. No one is willing to help me. I've tried talking with my dad about how I feel way before my outburst, but it always ends with, "It happened years ago, it's time to move on." I don't even know what that means. My sister can't get help either, so I'm trying to peacefully exist for her. Not the a-hole. I'm so sorry, OP. I don't even know where to start. You are categorically not the a-hole. Nicole is a huge one, but your dad wins by a mile. You and your sister should be his top priority, not the afterthought he's currently treating you as. What happened at the hospital? Did you or your sister tell the nurse that you were home alone and that your father wouldn't come to the phone? Opie replies, My neighbour came with us inside the urgent care, but while driving us there, he called my dad and he picked up. My dad said he'll be there in 15 to 20 minutes, which he was. I'm scared of saying anything that could get him in trouble, so I made something up like she got hurt while playing outside. In the past, I mentioned something to a school counsellor and a police officer visited our home. My dad got pretty angry, so I try to avoid those situations. Hopefully this gives some context. Sweet girl, my heart is breaking for you and your sister. I'm a 43-year-old mum of 2 and my husband was killed in a car accident in 2021. Our kids were 6 and 7 at the time. I've struggled with losing him. We were together since 17, and even now I can't imagine moving on. My children are the centre of my world. We have cried, grieved, and talked about memories of him together. We got each other through. I wish I could give you and your sister a giant hug. You could tell me about your mum, and I would share stories of my husband. Grief should be shared, so you know you've got support and you're not alone. I'm so sorry, and hope things will be better soon. Opie replies, Thank you, this means a lot, and I'm so sorry for your loss. I used to tell stories about Mum as bedtime stories for my sister. It always made us feel she was still here. One thing that I remember from the top of my head is about our farm. My mum grew up on a farm, and after my grandma passed away, she inherited it. Since I was 5, we visited the farm, and she taught me how to catch turkeys. It was hilarious. She would make turkey noises, and turkeys would approach her. Then she would scoop them up. The turkeys always looked spooked. I still remember. I think I was 7. I was making weird turkey noises, but all the turkeys seemed scared of me. So I just started chasing them down until I tripped over a brine bucket and got mud all over my face. My mum then took the hose and sprayed me down, and we had a mini water fight. My grandpa was mad about the mess, but it didn't matter. Yeah, precious memories. Okay, Opie answers some questions and then gives an update. I'm 17, my sister is 13, my dad is 44, and Nicole is 34. The grandparents and their role in this. I didn't touch on this before, but I'm currently living with my paternal grandparents. They live closer to us than my maternal side grandpa. I've tried talking to my paternal grandparents too, but it was also a very wishy-washy conversation. Not to say it didn't help at times, but it's clear that they were justifying my dad's actions at every chance rather than hearing me out. I don't want to live like this. I hate holding resentment, but I can't help it. I've asked my dad about therapy, but he doesn't believe in that type of support. You said you talked to your school counsellor. What did they say? They can't point me towards a resource without my dad's consent. The conversations usually end with to continue to speak with my dad. I don't expect them to have a solution to every situation, but it would be nice to just be heard fully. I also have to censor a few details when I speak with them because they've sent a police officer to my house in the past. My dad was angry about that situation, and I don't want him to feel angry with me. As for therapy, my dad doesn't believe in therapy or counselling, so I'm limited with options. Geez, I'm curious as to what Opie said to warrant the police officers coming to her house. Okay, Opie makes a couple updates. I've decided to contact my maternal grandpa tomorrow. I'll let you know how it goes. I've called my maternal grandpa when everyone was sleeping. It ended up being a 2-hour call. I basically mentioned to him everything I've said here and how I want to live with him if possible. He said as much as he wants me to go get out from there, that he can't do much without my father's approval. I hinted at a legal approach, but he said he wouldn't be able to see us if it got that far. My grandpa also shared some new info regarding my dad. According to him, when I was 14 and my sister was 10, my dad dropped us over at my grandpa's farm since he and Nicole were flying out. A day after they returned, my grandpa dropped us back home. We were still sleeping in grandpa's car when this ordeal happened, but when my grandpa knocked on the door, my dad answered the door, drunk out of his mind. From what little he could see, my grandpa saw that the house was a mess. He told my dad that he would bring us back the following day once my dad was in his right mind. We left back to grandpa's place. Then my grandpa got a call from my dad the next morning, threatening him with the police if he didn't bring us back immediately. My grandpa mentioned that he would speak with my paternal grandparents to see if something can be done about our situation. Geez, I wonder what that's all about. Alright, Opie makes another update post. Hi everyone, it's been a while. I really want to thank all of you for your perspectives and advice. I just wanted to give an update. Regarding Thanksgiving dinner, when my dad and Nicole arrived, I asked if I could speak with them both. My dad said he didn't want to talk and went into the living room. Nicole still remained by the front door, so I apologized for insulting her. She replied that she needed to leave and went to the living room. Overall, she still seemed rightfully angry with me. Dinner was awkward because my grandma would try to get my dad and I to talk, but he wouldn't really bother. After dinner, I pulled him aside and apologized again. He ignored me and went straight to Nicole. I still wasn't sure if I was heading back with him or not, so I just packed everything just in case. When he was getting ready to leave, I asked him if I could come back home. He said Nicole wasn't comfortable having me home, even though it had been a few days since the incident. I spent the entire night crying on the phone with my sister. Therapy and living situation. After having my call with my maternal grandpa, he called my paternal grandparents a couple days later to discuss my situation. I overheard the call between them. My maternal grandpa expressed he was concerned about me, especially my mental state, and asked my paternal grandparents if they were willing to talk to my dad and putting me in therapy. My grandparents said they'd be willing to take me to their church's mental support group or talk with their faith leader who specializes in grief counseling. My grandpa pushed back on the idea and mentioned a need for more professional help, but they were not receptive to the idea. All three of them also had a heated conversation about my living arrangement. My grandpa said it was ridiculous for a grown man to throw out their daughter, and it was shameful that my paternal grandparents are not hard-pressed in helping me get back home. That's all I heard regarding the conversation. Now, my grandma started taking me to weekly private sessions with the faith leader. I'm not entirely happy with the arrangement, but it has helped me start to process my grief in a healthier way. Also, I'm still living with my grandparents. I apologized over and over through text to my dad and through my grandparents, but he's not responded. My maternal grandpa has called my dad many times, but my dad blocked him. I'm contemplating telling my school counselor next semester all the details regarding my dad and not omitting anything to protect him. I also wasn't invited to my dad and Nicole's Christmas dinner, which hurt, but I'm starting to not care to have a relationship with my dad. I don't know if my feelings will change. In a twisted way, it was good he didn't let me go back home with him. The space has helped me focus on myself. Am I reading this right? This is crazy. Why would the dad throw away his relationship with his own daughter just because of a little spat she had? I mean, she's a teenager and she had a whole list of reasons to be frustrated. And now it sounds like Nicole's being a child because she can't get over the fact that a teenager hurt her feelings, and now the dad's taking her side. I mean, this is absurd. Opie makes a comment. Hi everyone, I'm feeling overwhelmed with the amount of messages, but I want to say that I'm not literate regarding the laws around my situation. Regarding my sister and I's college fund, my mum worked in a small boutique and some money earned through that was set aside, while my dad worked as a consultant, and I do know he put some money into the funds too. I don't know if my sister and I received any money regarding benefits or any monetary inheritance from my mum after she passed. I'm still understanding a great deal of information and writing everything out first. I even recently opened up a bank account with my grandparents' help, so now I'll not be dependent on him for simple monetary needs. I've thought about emancipation, but in less than a year I'll be 18, so I'm not sure if that avenue is worth my energy given everything else. Also, thank you for leaving info in the comments. I'll certainly be looking into all of that. Also, I know it's a small percentage of people, but please don't send me messages telling me to do violent things to my dad or Nicole, or wishing harm on their baby. I don't need that, nor would I wish it upon anybody. Okay folks, moving on to another update post. Hi, I wasn't sure if I was still allowed to add long updates to my old post, but I wanted to give one. Right now, everything is a mess, so I'll try my best to be coherent. This, in hindsight, was an idiotic mistake on my end, but after I scheduled a meeting with my counsellor, I mentioned it while calling my sister. On the call, I never explicitly mentioned my intention to report him, but she started freaking out and telling me it was not a good idea. She ended up crying on call, saying that I would be hurting our father if I reported him. I told her that I wouldn't go to the meeting to help her calm down. Regardless, I still planned on going to the counsellor meeting. I scheduled the meeting during the second week of January while my father was out in California. The night before the meeting, I got a call from my father. He said that if I ever wanted a place to live again, to not spread lies about him to the counsellor. I said that I would never do that, and that was the end of the call. This was the first time I've spoken to him in days, and I never gave any indication of me reporting him. I realised my sister must have said something, so I called her to talk. I asked her why she would tell him something like this, and she said that he had called her to ask what I was doing. She slipped up and told him that I was planning to meet with the counsellor. I still ended up going to the counsellor meeting, and I told him everything that was going on. I told the counsellor to please not notify my father about the meeting, and he agreed. At the very end, the counsellor gave me 2 to 3 pamphlets for mental health support, and said he'll follow up with me. He also dodged my questions regarding what will happen now. A day later, right after I got home from school, my paternal grandpa called me over and said he wanted to talk. He told me that the school called my father to set up a meeting with the counsellor. He started to yell and get angry with me, saying that, quote, "If I pull this crap, they'll take my sister and the baby away." He also said that I wasn't raised to lie and continued to reprimand me. I never thought my grandpa was capable of being this way, but it scared me how angry he got. I also got grounded, so I'm not allowed to drive or visit friends for a couple of weeks. I don't know what exactly went down in the meeting between the counsellor and my father. From the call between my grandpa and father, I learned there was a police officer present in the meeting and that they'll be doing a wellness check. Also, my father denied everything that I told the counsellor and chalked it up to me being spiteful because I lost my mum. I wasn't in a good mental state afterwards, and I'm still not. I called my friend and asked her to stay on the phone with me most times, or I just rot in my room. Also, as punishment, my grandma stopped taking me to the faith leader, so that's my current situation. Wow, even the grandparents are jumping on Opie's back. She needs to go over to her maternal grandparents, I think. Let's see the advice in the comments. Here's what I recommend to you, OP. Record everything. My personal theory is that your father hates the fact that his image has the possibility of being ruined, and your paternal grandfather doesn't want to look like he failed as a parent either, so they're both trying to hide any wrongdoing. Show the counsellor your text between you and your father, and find an app on your phone to record the calls you make from now on. Record a conversation with your paternal grandfather and tell him that you would like to live with your maternal grandparents. When you have enough proof, show this to the counsellor and request help to have guardianship transferred over to your maternal grandparents. Your father failed as a parent, and now he's being petty, childish, spoiled rotten, a piece of crap human being, and he is refusing to admit it because he knows how bad of a person he is right now. If you ever show him the truth, point him to my comment. This man has no right to just act like he didn't decide to get rid of you in favour for a piece of ass that tried to replace your mum. Shame on both of them. I'm so sorry you're going through this, and I don't understand why your maternal grandfather cannot try to get legal custody of you. You're not even living at your father's house at the moment. Sorry to say, but that man is vile. You've done nothing wrong. I'm 42 now, but at one point I was your age and made a similar phone call, more than one, on more than one person. Know that some people are sick and broken. Because they don't want people to see how sick and broken they are, they will go to their grave calling you a liar. Take them telling who they are as a gift. It was more than my sister could bear, rest her soul. The reason they wanted you to see a clergyman is because churches have fought to make sure they're not mandated reporters. This was thought out. Your father and his family are fully aware he's abusing you. Your counsellor and every other mental health or school professional are mandated reporters, unless you're not in the US. Guard your heart. It's not easy, I know. Get mental health support where you can. Keep seeing the counsellor at school. Join grief groups, even here on Reddit. Share what you learn with your sister. Don't get pulled into drugs or drinking. Keep your grades decent. Learn about financial aid and job training programs. This won't be your whole story. It's hard to stay motivated, but just put yourself in the best position for when you're free from these people. Yeah, some solid advice there. Okay, Opie makes another update. Hi everyone, I'm only making a mini update. During the meeting with the counsellor and police officer, my father knew to expect a wellness check. In fact, he's been home early every single day last week, which is unlike him. My sister texted me last Tuesday that our father came home early from work and told her to behave. She was panicking and freaking out, so I called her to help her calm down. I explained to her that a police officer might come over for a wellness check, and she should answer the police officer's questions honestly. I again don't know specifically what transpired during the wellness check, but my sister told me that the officer came to ask my father some questions and asked her if she was okay. I asked her what she told the officer, and she told him that she was fine. Nothing has come out of it. As soon as my sister texted me on that Tuesday, I tried sneaking out to go over to my dad's home before the officer comes, but my grandpa caught me. He brought me back inside, and we had a yelling match, to put it lightly. I yelled at him saying he doesn't care for my sister and I. He yelled at me saying he was tired of my spoiled ass and that I should be grateful that I still get food and a bed after the foolishness I recently pulled at school. I left in the middle of his rant to calm down in my room. My grandma came up shortly afterwards to check on me. She said that your dad and grandpa are going through a lot to figure out this mess and to please not make it worse for her sake and for mine. I asked her what she meant by for my sake and hers. She said that I need to be mature and act like an adult and to not cause her stress. Then she said, "You need to stop stressing Nicole. You know, the poor woman has been calling me crying about what you did. She's scared for the baby." After she said that, I did not have the energy to enter into another yelling match, so I told my grandma that I needed some space and left. The counsellor did not follow up with me during school last week. Also, I think it's for the best right now. My sister had a panic attack last week. They almost called paramedics because she couldn't stop hyperventilating. I know she's suffering and doesn't need anything else placed on her mentally. I also don't want to break her trust again after going to the counsellor. She's the type of person to keep things to herself if there isn't a strong rapport. If she's going through something, she will not tell you unless you force her hand. I still want her to feel safe and open when she speaks with me. I'm still evaluating my options and trying to find the best path forward. Side note, I keep getting questions about this in my DMs. 1. My father, as far as I know, currently does not drink excessively or do hard drugs. 2. No, Nicole is not my stepmother, she's just engaged to my father. And 3. I'm not going to run away. I'm not careless enough to do that, given everything. Okay guys, let's go straight to the next update. This will be my final update for a while. Over a week ago, my grandparents asked me to live at my friend's place for a week since Nicole needed my grandma's help with the pregnancy. For context, Nicole has severe fatigue and nausea, and her mum was coming in a week later. Also, my grandparents have only one extra bedroom, which is why they asked me to live at my friend's place. I was not mad about the arrangement. I got to be away from everyone, which was helpful. My father and Nicole's relationship. My father is working, so he's unable to take time off to help Nicole, hence her needing my grandma and her mum's assistance. After overhearing a conversation with my grandma and Nicole, I learned that both of them have a lot of stress and it's making her feel depressed. That's all I know about them. Sister in hospital. 3 days ago, my sister ended up in hospital. My sister has been bullied for a long time. We've reported it to the school numerous times, but nothing is ever done about it. A girl who has been harassing her online started name-calling and laughing at her while they were walking to class. My sister then pushed the girl away from her, which escalated to a physical fight. The girl bashed my sister's head into the locker while they were fighting. My sister was then unconscious and the school immediately called emergency services. My grandparents went to the hospital and I went when I was done with school. My maternal grandpa drove in that night. My sister ended up with a severe concussion, but she came back home on Friday. She's doing better but is still having bad headaches. The bully was suspended, but nothing else was done. By the way, in all of this mayhem, my dad did not show up once at the hospital. Living situation. I'm now living with my maternal grandpa, but my sister is living at my dad's place. My grandma has been going over to check on her, but the fact that she's still living alone in the home is worrying me. She is still recovering from everything and no one's frickin' there for her. My maternal grandpa asked my dad if he could take my sister with him for a week, and he said no. This POS also threatened to call the cops on my maternal grandpa again. I'm calling the cops on him after he leaves for work on Monday. I don't know what else to do to get her out of the situation. Wow, all this neglect is making me angry. One comment says, "Your sister absolutely needs someone there with her." And OP says, "That's the only reason why I'm calling the cops. No one is there with her. My grandma comes for 15 to 20 minutes and leaves for the rest of the day. She threw up twice on Saturday and no one was home when it happened. Also, I have no idea if my grandma would show up if my sister called for help. I'm now 2 hours away, so I can't go." Now a few quickfire updates from OP. The cops and my grandma found my sister unconscious in the house. She's in the hospital again, and they think she hit her head again when she fell. CPS is now involved. 2 days later, Nicole decided to hold her impromptu sex reveal party this weekend while my sister is in the hospital and my dad is involved in a CPS investigation. I don't know what the F she is thinking. This woman has fatigue and extreme nausea and thinks she has the energy to entertain her entourage. Also, on a more important note, my sister is recovering well, but she's being kept at the hospital for longer observation. And another 2 days later, my grandpa is searching for a lawyer to seek custody and my dad is being actively questioned. Yeah, and so he should. Opie comments again. Thank you for your well wishes. As of today, my dad is being actively questioned and Nicole ended up pushing the gender reveal party back. My grandpa and I talked about my sister's situation and he's in the process of obtaining a lawyer. Hopefully she'll be able to stay with us soon. And another update. My sister had a seizure, so my grandpa and I drove back in tonight. Grandpa wants to press charges against the bully. Yeah, you absolutely should press charges against the bully. Like a severe concussion and now seizures. This girl could be plagued with head injury problems for the rest of her life. One comment says, "You are absolutely doing the right thing and your dad is abusive." Opie says, "Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow and even harder to accept reality as it is. I had to keep telling myself that he's not my dad anymore, nor will he ever be. Rewiring the way you see a familiar person isn't easy at all, and I've questioned many of my decisions the past 2 months, but I know it's for the better. Another one of my biggest fears was losing a sense of family. Though he was never there or my paternal grandparents sided with him, there was still the idea of family. But even for that, I had to rework through those feelings and understand why I felt that way. It's a process to keep telling yourself that this is not how a family is supposed to be." Another update. I'll be meeting with a CPS worker this week. Also, the doctor is suspecting my sister may have a more severe TBI than previously thought, so she's going to stay at the hospital this week. Nicole announced she was having a girl after my sister was admitted to the hospital for the 3rd time. Dad is still nowhere to be seen. Only thing he's done is call my maternal grandma, telling her he'll be out of town this week. The next day, my sister has mobility issues. They don't know what extent yet. 2 days after that, my sister will need physical therapy for the next few months, but she's slowly recovering. The school has extended the bully's suspension and school administrators have started direct communication with grandparents. I have the meeting with CPS today after school. Another few days later, CPS meeting went well. A lot of the questions centered around my sister's situation, but I brought up the urgent care situation and my dad's absence. I brought along conversation recordings too, but they really couldn't do anything with them. I heard that they'll speak with a couple more family members, and Nicole. Oh man, my heart breaks for the sister. Like, how unfair can life be? I'm just crossing fingers that it's not something serious and that, she can get better very soon. But we'll see. Let's go to another update, 3.5 months on. I really want to thank you guys for the support and wonderful advice. This has been a crazy roller coaster in general, but I'm glad it's finally coming to an end. I know there's still a lot more I'll go through, but I'm relieved that my sister is safe. Just to preface, all of this literally happened today. My other post was also becoming too long, so I thought to make a new one. At school, the front office lady called me up over the intercom during the middle of my exam. I go over and I see my dad standing there. This man pulled me out of class so he can, quote, bring me back home. I immediately told him that I'm not coming, and he said I don't have a choice in this and to move. By the way, during all of this, we're still standing in the front office. I then yell at him to leave, and he yelled at me to shut up and move. Front office lady got involved and asked if there was a problem. I told her that I refused to go back with him and asked her to call my grandpa. My dad then grabbed my arm and tried dragging me at the front office, and I just kept screaming. The lady called the security officer and he came over. My dad told him I'm acting like a brat and I'm a problem child. I told the officer that I now live with my grandpa and not him. They call another officer over and he tells me that I'm only allowed to leave with my father. The officers leave and my dad gripped my wrist and pulled me towards his car. Then he frickin' orders me to get into the car or else. I try getting away but he shoves me into the passenger seat. He then warned me not to try anything and drove off back to his house. He then says I have to care for my sister while he's at work this week because I'm responsible for what happened to her, and this is my way of paying back for everything I put him through. He then texts me a minute after he leaves, telling me to not frickin' try anything and that he'll physically discipline me if he has to. By the way, he's never physically hurt me or severely threatened me like this before, so it was frightening when I saw the text. A while after he left, I called the cops and said I was taken against my will back to his house and told them about him manhandling me. Cops came over and maternal grandpa came over. Since no caretaker was home from my sister and my father didn't pick up his phone, the cops allowed my grandpa to take her back home with us. They located my father a bit ago and arrested him. It's a crap show right now, but now my sister is living with me and my maternal grandpa, so I know at least she is safe. My God, if he hasn't already, this dad has completely lost the plot. Hopefully his arrest makes it easier to get, primary custody for the maternal grandparents, but we'll see. But yeah, I think we can all agree, screw this guy. Opie answers some comments. Switching schools. I'm probably going to finish up high school at the same place since I got 2 months left, but I've asked my grandpa to consider homeschooling for my sister. I feel a bit safer that he's gone for now. Document the bruises. Also, hopefully the school cameras caught what happened. I wasn't able to record in the car, but the cops did note down the bruising on my wrists and head. I didn't even think about mentioning the school cameras. I'll find a way to relay that info, thank you. How was sister when you went back to the house? Was she alone? Opie said she was still in bed and no one came by to wake her up to have lunch or breakfast, so she was left hungry. It's an unsafe situation because she can still faint or pass out, and after the other incident of her passing out on the hardwood floor, she sustained another concussion. I have no frickin' idea why she was alone. My grandma supposedly comes by to check up on her during the morning and afternoon, but my sister needs constant supervision. Now some more additional updates. My grandpa noticed bruising around the nape of my sister's neck, and I noticed a lot of bruising on one part of her abdomen while helping her change. The bruising could not have come from her fall or the fight she had a couple of weeks ago. We're suspecting the worst and have reported and documented the bruises. My sister is also not in a state where she's able to fully hold conversations, but from what she was able to tell me, my dad hit her on the neck and threw something at her stomach while she was asleep. Everything has been reported to Child Protective Services and police. Oh my God, just when you think it can't get any worse. Opie comments more. Paternal side family called yesterday and started going off on me. I got called a lot of things and was told I was no longer welcome in their family. I don't give an F, they can do whatever they want. School is a 20-minute walk and a 6-minute drive from my father's home, but after what happened, I doubt that my father would try to pull something like that again. Also, after the whole call, I blocked them on everything. I have no intention of speaking or dealing with their business. Regarding the baby, they detected a heart abnormality. They're going to a specialist in a couple more weeks to figure out what exactly is the issue, but the fact that they suck at basic parenting worries me about the baby's care after she's born. Random side note, Nicole is not even Christian, but the grandparents have looked past that the entirety of her and my father's relationship. They've always crapped on me for not attending Sunday school or volunteering more at the church. The people there, aside from 2 to 3 individuals, respect my grandparents greatly and are one and all the same. They will 100% spin this as a child straying from God and her father trying to save her BS. Also, this is the same church that kicked a woman out for a suspected abortion. It was never confirmed. Instead, it was a rumor spread by another member of the church. Slowly and maturely, everyone stopped associating with the woman. These are also the same people who claim my mother's death was part of God's plan to help the drunk driver who killed her reach closer to God. Oh man, I'm getting mad just reading this, I tell you what. One comment says, if your paternal grandparents try to contact you, make sure you get it in writing or record the convo if you're in a one-party state. If you're able to get a lawyer pro bono or through funds, make them talk to you through a lawyer. I hope karma gets them really bad. Another comment says, I don't know about Nicole, but definitely feels like your dad has been lying to everyone. I won't be surprised if he told her you and your sister were with your grandparents when he was out and about with her. A quick update. For real, I didn't think he could get any scummier than he is, but today through my lawyer, I found out that this POS just got charged with possession of child PORN. Apparently, they searched his phone regarding a situation involving my sister when they came across the graphic pictures. I sincerely hope he rots in hell. Boy oh boy, it just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? I couldn't tell you the last time I read a story where every update so consistently just exceeded my expectations of what would happen. And not in a good way, that's for sure. And yeah, like Opie said, this guy really needs to rot in hell. Man, what a scumbag. One comment says, "Oh gosh, your dad is disgusting. For him to have such horrible material. I hope he didn't do anything heinous to your sister." And Opie replies, "I'll never know if he was like this before, but I really hope he wasn't. Sister does have suicidal ideations, but after she recovers a bit, my grandpa already has a potential therapist lined up. We are worried about her. She's gone through more than me by a mile and hasn't gotten a semblance of help. From conversations I overheard between my grandpa and other family members, it is highly likely she'll be homeschooled for a year or so. News has already reached the church and school. I had people ask me about it indirectly, but I just changed the topic. No one has pushed the convo though." An update a few days later, Nicole is in the hospital because she was bleeding heavily and don't know if the baby's okay. A few days after that, "My sister is recovering well and she'll be starting PT soon. I also committed to a BS/MD program yesterday. Nicole and the baby are okay, but police are looking into Nicole for something, but I don't know for what." A few days after that, they found CP on her phone and computer too, and she's been booked. What on earth, Nicole as well? My god. Opie comments, "As far as I know, there isn't anything suggesting they did anything sexually to her, the sister. However, this is only backed by my sister's word and the lack of physical evidence. The CP predates October and November when I originally left, so if anything was going on, I would have known. Regardless, I don't think there's much we can do if she's deliberately hiding something, and the chances of that are pretty slim. I only hear about paternal side through family friends, through classmates whose parents attend the same church, or through my maternal grandpa. They apparently did not attend church this past Sunday, so..." And a few days after that, Grandpa told me that paternal grandparents are petitioning for custody of my sister and me. Oh no, do not let that happen, whatever you do. A few weeks later. Trigger warning, suicide attempt, as I have not posted any updates because I'm focused on my sister. She's in the hospital again and is recovering slowly. I've been mentally shaken up by the whole thing. I know I should have been at home more watching her. Grandpa is already stressed out as hell, and I don't know how to help him at all. Oh my god, not good, but I can't say I'm not surprised after all the sister's gone through. A few days later. We started taking her to therapy after her PT appointment twice a week. My grandpa can't afford it out of pocket and has been struggling with the insurance people. Somehow, paternal side got a wind of the financial issues and started pursuing another petition for custody of only my sister under the guise of covering her medical expenses. The therapist never shared with us if she mentioned anything of it. I'm pretty sure she didn't anyways. She's reserved in many ways and keeps her struggles to herself unless she feels truly comfortable with you, which takes a while to establish. However, she mentioned situations regarding physical abuse which had been sent to the police for record. Couple weeks later. After her hospitalization, we learned that she developed partial blindness in her left eye and refuses to speak to anyone. I try to talk to her, but she ignores me and sits in silence. She isn't speaking to anybody, not even the doctors. Also, the judge granted paternal grandparents primary custody of her to finance the medical expenses. Grandpa is in the process of selling off a portion of the farm to pool more money. She had acute liver failure and is still considered a potential danger to herself, so she's still there. Another comment a few days later, we finally got an official court date for his trial. And a couple days after that, "Hey, I'm doing much better now. Sister will be discharged later this week, but we'll be going home with paternal grandparents for a bit. I don't know much about specifics, but I know my grandpa filed a civil lawsuit against them for my sister's injury when she fell down. We still haven't gotten a buyer yet for the property, so I'm not sure where we'll get more money. I'm also looking to defer my enrollment because of it." A couple weeks later, my grandpa has unexpectedly passed away. To clarify, this is the maternal grandfather that passed, the only decent adult in this story. Oh man, that is absolutely tragic. I don't know why I kept reading. This is just making me feel bad. Opie makes one more update so far. My grandpa passed away in May. He was meeting with a friend after a meeting with the lawyers when it happened. I truly do not know how to feel. Everything after was a blur, and I'm still having to deal with the aftermath of it. The funeral was rushed and messy. He was not even buried next to my grandmother, but was cremated against his wishes. I was never once asked what my grandpa would have wanted. It seemed like people wanted to get over it and move on. I don't even have my grandpa's urn, and I don't know who has it now or what happened to it. I was never given a moment to breathe. Within a week of his passing, I was moved to 2 different homes of relatives I've never met. I've lost contact with my sister. She is less and less responsive to my calls or texts. My relative is trying to arrange a meeting for us by communicating with my paternal grandparents. He told me that he met with my sister and she was healthy and doing well. I don't know what's going to come from the custody issues now. A few days later, the custody battle is officially dropped and there is a visitation agreement being worked out. He has been sentenced already. Wow, okay guys, and that's all we've got from that one so far. What an absolute nightmare. Just when you think this can't get any more horrifying, there's a new update, and then it does get more horrifying. I mean, where do you even start with diagnosing a problem here? The father, Nicole, the grandparents, church? Like it's an absolute hailstorm of crap on poor OP and her sister. My fingers and toes are crossed that the next update breaks the trend of the previous ones, but yeah, I can't really see it getting much easier that soon. What about you guys? Plenty to say about this one, I'm sure. Let me know down in the comments. Anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed that story, or appreciated it in some way. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.